Hey guys, day number 59 of 90. My name's Alan Thomas, and I have Rethink Dieting for Men. And little history, I always give it every time I'm on a call, just to give you kind of a perspective of, and better if I move the microphone closer, of where I come from. In 2017, I stepped on the scales and I saw 304 pounds staring back at me. I'm only 5'11". As I've told you guys, I know you guys think I'm like 11 feet tall. I'm not 11 feet tall. I'm 5'11", and 304 pounds is classified as morbid obesity. And that's an ugly term. But when I looked down at the scale, I really saw something that was more frightening than even the number that I was looking at. I saw that the likelihood of me being alive, I was 55, the likelihood of me being alive another 5 years was slim. Another 10 years was almost impossible. The thought that my wife would, bury me and my four children, who, at the time were 15 all the way up to 27 years old, would be calling somebody else, probably in 4 or 5 years, calling somebody else dad. And because I was dead, I couldn't get control of my obesity. I couldn't get control of my fork, and it was beating me. And I had somebody ask me, what's holding you back, in a business context. He was saying, what's holding you back? And I said, my weight. And he had never seen me. And on that day, I committed publicly that I would lose 129 pounds in 265 days. And I hit that number 5 days early in 260 days. And I don't say any of this to impress you at all, because I should have never been fat to start with. I mean, come on, I was huge. And in allowing myself to get to that level just really was something that was, blew my mind. And I knew that if I didn't change, that all the potential that was locked up in me would be gone forever. And, it was something, stewardship of me personally, my personal body. I'd really just never even considered it. And I just felt like God was giving me a chance to get it done in 260 days after literally 40 years of fighting weight. I'd never been that obese, but still I was obese for many, many years. I don't know if it was 75, I don't know if it was 100 diets that I failed at. And it's interesting, the men that go through my program, and big shout out to Matt Woodrum too today. Matt hit his weight target, what I like to call home weight, the place he should have always lived. And he was, when I met Matt, he was 275 pounds. I'm going to let a secret out. He's only 5'6". So Matt was morbidly obese. And today he did the unbelievable. He stepped on the scales at 180. And Matt is actually continuing the journey. He's decided that he's going to go even lower, but 95 pounds that he took off. And, when I work with guys like Matt, one of the things I have a real core belief is, it really the diet that's stopping you? Is it really your exercise that's stopping you? I talk to so many men that tell me, oh, I can't exercise. I mean, literally every day, caller after caller after caller that I deal with, that, people are reaching out to me for help, and they're telling me they can't exercise for one reason or another. And exercise is phenomenal. I was on my bike this morning, did, I don't know, 10 miles, something like that. I lose track. I do it because I enjoy it. Makes me feel great. But guess what? I tell guys every day, you can't outrun the fork. And so is it the diet? Well, gosh, I failed at it like 50, 100 times or whatever. I know that's not a number, but I failed at it over and over and over again. I failed at dieting. And it was like, what is it going to take? And one of the men that, is in our Rethink Dieting group, he, who's on his journey, he said something that I thought was prolific. And I've said it in a lot of different ways, but what he said really summed it up. He said, Alan, he said, having the power first, then comes the diet and the exercise. Yeah, and so shout out to Mark Delaney, who said that. But Mark, he's one you want to get your pen out. Having the power first, and then the diet and exercise. So, that's the stick-to-itness. And men talk to me a lot. They're always shocked that I don't tell them what to eat. Go figure. Do they have to follow an eating plan to lose weight? 100%. You can't do it with that if you don't change your eating. I mean, don't be crazy. I mean, you've got to change your eating. Do we do crazy stuff? No. The crazy thing is staying fat. I mean, that's what I did for years. That was crazy. So, going from morbid obesity to a normal healthy weight, going from, 304 pounds to 175, dropping 95 pounds, dropping 100 pounds, dropping 50 pounds, whatever it is, it's got to start with the power to get it down, because, it breaks my heart to hear men talk about the shame that they experience. And men don't talk about this a lot. I ask a lot of hard questions, and I do, because I want to know where people are. Because I tell people, if you're looking for another diet plan, I'm not your guy. Does it take changing around your eating, your nutrition? Of course it does. Of course it does. But I haven't had one man tell me yet that they didn't know what to do. Not one. I ask it every day, multiple times. Do you know what to do? Yeah, I know what to do. It's the power to do it. And that's what we focus on. That really is the focus. And when I talk to individuals who haven't had that power yet, and they talk about, the embarrassment of getting on an airplane. I mean, I can remember that 2 seatbelt deal, man. That is a shame deal. And when you're looking at the seat, you're seeing people walk down the aisle and they're praying, oh, please don't let me sit by the fat guy. Or you're walking down the aisle as the fat guy, you're heading down the aisle, and then somebody's sitting there and they're thinking, oh, please, God, don't let that guy be the guy sitting beside. I mean, they're talking about me, or they're talking about you. And that, or thinking of that, and I mean, that is embarrassing. And when you go into social settings, some of the men that I talk to have just totally withdrawn from their life because they're so embarrassed about their weight. I live at the beach, as you can see. That's my scale that I actually weighed on when back in 2017, the actual scale. I don't know, that one died after a lot of pictures taken up. But but that's a beach, just down the street from us. We live in Amelia Island, and I talk to men, they haven't taken their shirt off. They haven't gone to the beach to have fun. They haven't, they've got kids, and they think their kids aren't affected by this. I promise you this, your kids are affected by it. My daughter was teased about me being obese. I remember her saying one of her friends was teasing her about me being fat. And just the shame that we live in, the shame that my spouse, who I married a drop dead gorgeous lady, and she lost a little bit of weight, but she was not morbidly obese like me. And it's me putting her through that, and then to think that I was literally taking my life in my own hands every day. It's like, if I got a diagnosis at a doctor that I had a year to live, I'd do anything to save myself. But being morbidly obese, you might not even have a year to live. You might not. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a physician. I tell people every day, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist, dietitian, or physical fitness expert. I'm just a guy that figured a way through the wilderness of obesity, and men are getting freedom. And the freedom they're getting, it's always so fun to see. When I talk to these men, and it's, sure, they're wearing clothes they haven't worn in years. Sure, they're going into clothing stores. Sure, they're not embarrassed going out with their wife now. Sure, they're getting out and doing things. Sure, they're doing all these things that are on surface, but they're starting to live again. They're starting to live again, and they're realizing that their weight held them back from so much more than they ever realized. You'll never be told by an employer that you didn't get a job because you're morbidly obese. But guess what? You tell me, if you're 100 pounds or more overweight, if you think you've been passed up for promotion, what's that costing you? What's it costing you to stay morbidly obese? What is it costing you? You think that you got 20 years, and you may, I don't know, I'm not God, but you're morbidly obese and you're over 40, your number may come up tomorrow. I mean, even if you're not obese, that can happen. Certainly. I'm not God. I don't know, but really, are we going to, it's like going out into traffic, into the interstate. I-95's nearby here. Going out to I-95 and running across, being obese is like running back and forth across 6 lanes of traffic and hoping nobody runs you over. You are eventually going to get splatted. You are. I mean, go to the hospitals. They're loaded with people who weren't planning to, have a heart attack. They weren't planning to have a stroke. They weren't planning to have cancer. They weren't planning any of this stuff, but they just couldn't figure out how to have the power over their fork. And so it's so much fun when I see a guy like Matt today who overcame his, and he's got power he never thought he'd have. again. And he'd forgotten that, who he was inside. I think just like I had. And it's fun to see that happening. And so I want to encourage you with this. This is a battle that can be won, but make no mistake about it, is a battle. The battle you're in it might just look like flesh and blood to you, but I believe the enemy of the heart is coming against us with weight. And I don't do sermons. Don't worry if I do. I'm for sure taking an offering, big offering. So, but I want you to think about that. What would be, nobody think of this. What's so bad about another bite of food? I mean, on surface, nothing. But if you do it over and over and over again, and it's 6 ounces here and a pound there and 2 pounds there and 3 pounds there, and before you know it, it's 100 pounds, 150 pounds, or 60 pounds. The 60 turns into 120. I was 50 pounds overweight before I was 129 pounds overweight. I was 5 pounds overweight before I was over 100 pounds overweight. And so it happens, and then suddenly you're stepping back where you should step forward. You're not stepping into life. I mean, and again, I don't. These are clearly not planned out, because I will ramble. So forgive me if I am. But I want you to think about not having the power over the diet and exercise. Not having the power over it is that, wouldn't that be an amazing plan to take men out of living their potential and their calling and their dream? I mean, think about that. Think about that for a minute. If you're a guy that's got 50 pounds to lose, 100 pounds to lose, 200 pounds to lose, whatever, think about you being completely taken out by the fork. You let the fork take you out. And I would just say, be encouraged. There's a way out. I'm not for everybody. I say that all the time. Not everybody's a fit for my program. I get it. And I don't invite everybody into my program. But if you're stuck, if you're really stuck and you are flipping sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you've had it with this game of the yo-yo dieting and trying to find the magic pill and the magic diet and, the lap band or the gastric bypass or whatever, and none of it's working, maybe it's time you ought to rethink this whole dieting thing. And maybe it's time to figure that piece out. So, reach out to me. You can go to www.transformmyfuture.com/apply and book what I like to call a breakthrough session, which, we'll have an honest conversation and see if my program's a fit for you. I don't invite everybody in the program because clearly it's not for everybody, but it is, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, dietitian, or physical fitness expert, but I do know the way through the wilderness. And one more guy every day keeps getting out of that wilderness of obesity. And it's a blast to watch what they do, because they push through areas of their life that they never even thought was possible again. And their wives look at them different. Their kids look at them different. Their girlfriends look at them different. Not at the same time the wife's looking at them, though. Joke, kidding. Not everybody's married, but they step into the power that they always had within them, and it was covered up by layers and layers of overeating. And so, be encouraged. There's a way out. So, guys, until tomorrow night, it'll be day number 60 of 90, and you guys go to check out my online web class at rethinkdieting.com, or book a call at transformmyfuture.com/apply. So you guys keep pressing forward and have a great night.